A massive deal just went through for Diablo 4 that will actually change everything. We also have a ton of new information around the season and when it will end. I also do want to have a mini rant / react to DM Diablo and Sylvus. We got a lot to talk about. What's up, world? We're back in the room checking out all things Diablo 4. Okay, so first up, let's just break into the big deal stuff, then I'll talk about some of the seasonal information, and then at the very later half, I will go over the video and some of the stuff that's going on lately. Okay, so first up, we do have that big information, that big deal that just happened, and I even talked about it in my other video, some potential stuff there. Microsoft just won the case against the FTC for the Microsoft Activision deal. Now, the CMA did deny that deal, but that was a while ago, but they already are going back on that. They are working out a deal with Microsoft currently, and the deal has to close within a week's time. Crazily enough, the deal has to close by July 18th. Now, I'm not saying that the game will be, but we did have that banner leak from that PayPick, or that PicPay, I think it was called, from Brazil, which is an official retailer from Brazil that accidentally leaked that Diablo 4 was coming to Game Pass, or that it was quote-unquote available now. Now, it would be quite crazy if Diablo 4 actually shows up on Game Pass for Season 1. I think it will really help the longevity of this game, and later stuff that I talk about will actually tie back into this. However, for now, that's more than likely not going to be the case, but it would be pretty cool and pretty funny if they did just make it in time in order to get this thing onto Game Pass. More than likely, this will come either mid-Season 1 or later down the line in Season 2, but if the deal does close, I really could see this happening on July 20th and this being pushed to Game Pass. However, maybe Blizzard does see that they will get more paying customers come July in the first season, although I really don't think anybody else is going to get the game. There is a few people that were waiting for Season 1, but with those season trailers, I don't know, is that really enticing anybody to buy the game? Especially ones that already haven't, and people that are playing the game already and already have the game, they're not even really enticed to come back. So I doubt we see any more purchases with Season 1, and I do think that Game Pass could potentially help the game further. Now, we also do have a bunch of details on the season end date. So the season end date did kind of get leaked here, and it ends on October 9, 2023. At least from this image here that was taken and kind of showcased. Now, it does make sense, that actually does align perfectly. July 20th to October 9th is about 3 months. It's technically 11 and a half weeks, so not the total of 12 weeks. However, they did state that there was going to be a 2-week spacer in between seasons. So this kind of does align properly, and I really do think that we will get this accordingly, and it will probably end around October 9th. Someone also did mention here that Starfield will be out by the 8th week, so I doubt the season will be that populated at the end, especially the back half. A lot of people are going to be going to other games. There's a ton of new games coming out. I even have a beta test sometime in August I can't talk about just yet, I don't think. There's a couple things going on in there, so there's a ton of stuff. Even Baldur's Gate will be out there, Armored Core 6 in August. There's a ton of games coming out, so yeah, the back half of seasons for Diablo, for its first season at least, is going to be kind of dwindling. We have to talk about another issue within Diablo, and that is the gold spammers. Gold spammers, people have been getting spammed invite and friend requests just by posting something in trade chat. A lot of times they're just finding people in local players too, so you don't even need to post anything. Some people have been getting it from Discord when they replied their Battle.net on there. I thankfully never got any crazy stuff like that. I never got spammed, invited, or spam messaged. Now, apparently this actually has been fixed, though, for the most part. So we had an update yesterday at 7:11 p.m. And this is from the president of Blizzard, who said, "We had a UI bug where users could see full Battle.net IDs and spam them in D4. I'm sure some of you have had the buy/sell gold spam messages. It's been fixed and will take a bit to weed out the bad players, mainly just an FYI communication on this. We know it's very annoying." So at least they're actively looking at the gold sellers and bot spammers. It is kind of nice for a change, especially when you come from World of Warcraft and know that they've really not done anything about that for a very long time. They do have those ban waves, but we know how those go. They don't really prevent anything or change anything. So a cool update there. Hopefully we see less of the gold spammers. I also do want to talk about that DM Diablo video and that Sylvus video. Hope I'm pronouncing his name right. It's a little convoluted there, but yeah. Now, he is a small content creator, so I will have a link to his video as well as DM, even though he's big. Any content I covered, that I always want to have their content down below just in case. I'm not going to necessarily react to the videos, but I do want to talk about them a little bit, as it kind of has been, especially in the later of my videos recently, I've had a lot of controversial comments. I've had people tell me that they're unsubscribing from me. I lost a subscriber, things like that. I always always want to be honest with you guys, and I always want to tell you the truth when I'm not feeling a game or when things are going wrong. And for several weeks now, especially after I hit level 100, I have been really dreading the game. Especially after level 80-ish, I really got very burnt out and pretty bored. I then went on to do a bunch of stuff, did some high tiers down to Uber Lilith, did some carry runs even for Uber Lilith as well, made like 500 million in one night with a buddy. We did some duo run stuff. So I've kind of gone to every aspect. I've gold farm, I've done the pinnacle boss, I've tried to do some high tier nightmares, although I didn't do a tier 100 just yet. I definitely got burnt out around the later half there, but my reaction to this video more so is that there's a lot of stuff in here that I really feel like it doesn't address the overall cause of anything. Now everybody keeps talking about the gear farms, the gear systems, and the gear checks, all that the stuff, the stats, how they don't play out, how rings and jewelry can be from sacred items and they can be bis items. Essentially they have the same roles. However, I do not think any of this has anything to do with gear. The gearing system is terrible, and yeah, it definitely needs to be looked at and worked on. You can get literally full bis at, like, especially in this video they showcased that he had a full bis ring at level 58, or it was definitely possible for that. However, the problem to me is the content that you grind is very, very stale and boring. It feels very uninspired, a lot of it feels very uninspired. I said this earlier on with the cow level. I said if they don't have a cow level, it probably means they didn't have fun making this game. Now there's a ton of stuff about the secret cow level and stuff like that, but there isn't one right now. And to me that showcases they didn't have fun making the game. They just didn't have a good time. This was very corporate level. This was all, this has to be here, this has to be put here, this is put there. We've also talked about how Diablo Immortal has more content than this fully fledged Diablo 4 title. And yeah, it does. It has way more content than Diablo 4. Especially after 10 years, it just doesn't make sense to me how this has less content than that. I feel like this game was restarted. They remade it several times during development. That's really the only way that this is possible, in my opinion. So the gearing is definitely an issue. There's a definite problem with gearing. There's a definite problem with trading. There's a definite problem with the count-bound stuff, not being able to play the game. It feels really like a single-player game when it was marketed as an MMO, or at least a shared world experience. It's definitely not an MMO, and definitely will never be an MMO, but it will definitely be closer to a shared world experience, I think, after a few years. They leaned into Lost Ark mechanics, but then didn't take any of the fun Lost Ark mechanics. There's no boss timers, there's no islands to do content with people. There's no group finder, although there really isn't for Lost Ark either. It's more so just a queue system. And yeah, there's not that in Diablo 4 either. There's not a queue system. There's no way to party up with people other than just knowing them IRL or knowing them from some Discord or chatting in the little local section. Although I've legitimately never partied up with anybody in any local area, and I've never even got an invite or invited anybody else, never felt the need to. So yeah, I don't think the itemization is the problem, and yeah, there does definitely need to be chase items, but I think we're missing the point of that the content to do while chasing items is not fun. It is not fun. In World of Warcraft, it is fun to me to go do Skalamance the 5th time and try to get my bis or pre-bis dagger for the raid. In Wrath of the Lich King, it was fun to spam 15 heroic dungeons every day for a week to try to get pre-bis items as well as my reputation up. And yeah, at the end of the week, it did get a little tedious doing 15 per day, and so we ended up just doing the ones that we needed. But all the dungeons, all the content, all the combat, that was fun. That was fun to do, it was fun to play. With Diablo 4, I do not have that feeling at any point in the entire game. I never felt that it was fun to grind any of the content. I never felt that it was fun to go through dungeons. I never felt that it was fun to go through nightmare dungeons. And if I want to use Lost Ark as an example, Lost Ark, I had a ton of fun leveling. I had a ton of fun leveling alts. I had a ton of fun doing the quests. I had a ton of fun doing all the raid stuff. I had a ton of fun doing the raids through each section. Now granted, it might not be fair to compare Lost Ark and Diablo 4, as Lost Ark had like 2 years of development, or 2 years of after development, and then it was pushed to the NA audience. However, even islands were fun. Even like that was like the funnest part for me, was to go to islands and interact with people and do socialization. Diablo 4 has none of that. It doesn't have any of that. It's just a single player game that you see other people in. That doesn't feel good. That's not like a good, I don't know, it's just not overall good. I know a lot of people don't want people in the world. They want to play a single player game, and I guess that's fine. It's understandable from the Diablo audience perspective. However, if you want to keep the game alive and you want people to play it, you really do need to lean into the online stuff, or this game's not going to have the audience that it has. That's why the numbers are dwindling, because people are seeing that it's very shallow. It's an antisocial experience. The content that you grind for is not fun. The itemization is not good. There's like 5 bosses in the entire game, or whatever it is. There's not very many mechanics with them. Uber Lilith has like 3 or 4 mechanics overall, and the only reason why it's hard is because they one-shot you. Most of the builds are trying to cheese through stagger phases so that they don't have to do the mechanics, because they just one-shot you. They're not even like fun to dodge or even learn the fight overall. It's just kind of a boring experience there. So I think there's way more issues that need to be addressed than itemization. I don't think itemization will fix anything. I think that's why this season, at least the seasonal 1, is kind of being received poorly, because people don't care about adding new gems to their build or adding new power items or making their character stronger. Why does that matter to me when the content that I'm playing is stale and boring and has no objective and nothing fun to do? There's no socialization, there's nothing to go around and play, there's nothing to use your gear towards, there's nothing to show off with. In Lost Ark, at least if I have super strong gear and I go into a Guardian raid or I go to an island, I completely dismantle a boss in front of 20 or 30 other people. That is cool, that's fun to see. Or even after doing a Guardian raid, it shows my statistics, it shows that I'm top of the boards, or bottom, or wherever. Diablo 4 has none of that, it lacks all of that. Itemization is one thing, they definitely need to fix it. I think it's a lot easier to fix that, as it's just tuning a few numbers and knobs and twists, changing a few lines of code for different percentages, but the overall game and its content is stale and boring. And I'm sorry to say, but that's what it is, and Season 1 is not going to change any of that. Kind of a long rant there, but I had to go over that after people were saying that Diablo 4 is dwindling in numbers and it's not seeing the people return. I think itemization for this game is the last of its worries when the content itself is not fun to do. That's my take on it. I had to get it out there because I feel like everybody keeps pinning it on the itemization and trade stuff. People still trade items in the Discord. People are still trading stuff back and forth. If you're level 100, you could trade anything anyways, and kind of, well, you could at least buy whatever you want because there's no level requirement for you. But now at level 100, there's nothing to play, there's nothing to do, and the content itself is very boring and stale. I don't get that with a lot of games, especially AAA ones, especially Blizzard quality ones. I do not usually experience that this fast. Kind of sad to see. I hope this game is fixed by like Season 10 or something. Yeah, I still don't know though. That is about cover for today's video. If you like and subscribe. Until the next one. Deuces.